الله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبو القاسم محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا جاءكم منافقون قالوا نشهد إنك رسول الله. This is the opening of the verse of Quran. Particularly beautiful verse in its structure, which I'll just discuss briefly. It starts out with this declaration from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the hypocrites, the munafiqun, say to the Prophet, "You are the Prophet of Allah, you are the messenger of Allah." And it's a very forceful statement. I can't read it with the force it deserves. But that declaration, إِذَا جَاءَكَ, it's commanding, it's declamatory. But he then continues. And the beauty of this, the linguistic beauty, is the voice changes. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ إِنَّكَ لَرَسُولُهُ. It's a different voice. There's been the declaration of what the hypocrites do. And then it's almost as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leans forward like we do with a friend and says, "I know that you are my messenger." It's a very intimate moment. It expresses the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the most righteous being of humanity. It's fascinating. People talk about the Quran and say, how is it a miracle? This sentence with its clauses and its changes of voices is so magnificent that it's breathtaking, just for its structure. And he continues, Assalamu alaikum. Wallahu yashhadu inna munafiqina kadhibun. In this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now moves on to say something about the nature of hypocrisy. And it's not a simple statement. We often hear people accused or accusing others of being hypocrites. We hear people who accuse themselves of being hypocrites because they've done what they feel is a falsehood. And yet, it's our duty to conceal our thoughts from others. So that can't be hypocrisy. This is sunnah and commanded by the Quran. Conceal the faults of others. The Muslim is one who is safe from the tongues of other Muslims, and Muslims are safe from his tongue. And a lot of people feel that they can't access the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because they accuse themselves of some hypocrisy. Allah Ta'ala here doesn't say all liars are hypocrites. He says all hypocrites are liars. And that's a profound statement. What are they lying about? And this takes us back into how we feel about ourselves. Someone who commits a sin and conceals it doesn't deny faith. He doesn't deny Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He doesn't deny the prophethood of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. What the hypocrite does is to deny those things, not openly, but in the heart. We can say that hypocrisy is kufr or kufr. It's the concealment of disbelief. And from this we can see that it's a crime that compounds on itself. It's not a simple case of kufr where a person might repent. By concealing the disbelief, the hypocrite has destroyed their credibility in this world and in the hereafter. We, as believers, need to oppose hypocrisy in a way that corrects people. Not simply condemning, but we have to show the benefit of being honest, straightforward and truthful. I mentioned the simple lies. There are times when lying is necessary and can even be wajib upon us to protect an innocent person, to defend our nation. And there are times when deception is permissible. We may not, in business, give the customer the full facts in order to make a sale. This does not necessarily harm the customer, but it benefits business. We move into the grey areas. And of course, a businessman can make a fraudulent claim. He can offer 2 for the price of 1 when he's actually charging for 3. This is frowned upon. But all these are type of struggle. They're types of jihad. And in jihad, the Quran says, use any strategy. But it must be proportionate to the struggle undertaken, so that we can't do an absolute deception in business or in our daily life just for the sake of our own comfort. It must be proportionate. So if a life is at risk, we can tell any lie we like to save that life. So these are the categories of deception that are not hypocrisy. Although we'll hear people say, what a hypocrite. What a hypocrite. He does this and then he tells us to do that. Well, if he told you what he did, you wouldn't listen to the sense he was talking. You wouldn't have the opportunity to forgive whatever he's done. And this is why we maintain silence over faults. It can be quite difficult sometimes when somebody asks you, I've done such and such. Am I going to be punished? And you have to say, in emulation of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but I didn't really want to know that about you. We have to make then an effort in ourselves to forget what the person has told us. So, opposing the wrongdoing of hypocrisy has been one of the major struggles of Islam since moments after the revelation of the Quran. Hypocrites, or people who appear to us to be hypocrites, flocked to the Prophet, peace be upon him, as his strength and prestige rose in the community. And there are several verses in Quran that say that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's in their hearts, and He will reveal them after a time. That only He can see into these hearts. For us, the issue is compounded by the internet, television, and many publications of people who claim to be Muslims and yet give advice that attacks the very foundations of Islamic life, culture, and thought. I speak as a convert, and I believe it was Ibn Taymiyyah, amongst others, who said converts can be such a problem because of what they bring with them. And if we look across the internet, you'll see an awful lot of converts who are saying this or that is wrong in Islam. Cultural practices, even interpretations of the Quran. And most commonly, strange understandings of what hadith are saying to people. Now there is a need for us to revisit all of these sources and question them. But the sign of the hypocrite is the condemning statement. Walking up to someone and saying, what you're doing is haram, because it's not in the Quran. What you're doing is haram, because it's cultural and not religious, if there can be such a thing. And we must ask these people, why have you become a Muslim if everything is so wrong? Why did you recite the Shahadatayn if Islam, according to you, is terminally flawed? Why don't you go back to where you came from? And they will say, oh, but you don't allow us to. If we try to go back to what we were, you'll try and cut our heads off with those swords you hide under your cloak. No swords today. In fact, we would just be filled with sadness that someone had failed to seize onto the guidance that Islam brings, not just to communities, but to every individual human being of any age, of any culture, of any belief. We have to seize back our religion in the public sphere. We have to say to these people, what you are suggesting is not Islamic, what we follow may not be perfect, for no man can be perfect. We all have concealed flaws and obvious flaws that our friends forgive. Because the central practice, the hub of akhlaq, is that we forgive each other for the mistakes we make. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I have to make a confession, having said we shouldn't confess, but I'll make a confession anyway. I love talking to the community so much that I always run over time, so please forgive me. I know that you would much rather work than listen to me. Let me start by bringing some good news. During the last week, I've acted as wakil at 3 nikahs. This is such a blessing on the community that people coming together, getting married, and of course, feeding me with meats and sweet stuff. We've also had one marriage in the Iraqi community where a brother, a non-Muslim brother, has converted to Islam. And so I'd ask you to remember Brother Chris and his wife Rose in your du'as today. It's unexpected when people just phone you up out of the blue and say, I want to become a Muslim. For whatever reason. The Shahadatain is the start of Islam. It's that moment when we recognise a belief, not a rational belief, that we develop as we learn about Islam. The Shahadatain is the statement of the heart. It's not the statement of the heart, and it's a falsehood. When we say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, the breath tones, the lungs, the tongue and the breathing engage together. It's a magnificent little phrase. It's onomatopoeic, which means it sounds like what it means. The breath coming out, the chest expanding and contracting to blow the breath out, is that feeling when we stand in front of a beautiful landscape and the sun is shining just the right amount through clouds that are just the right size. That perfect day. And what do? And when we mention the name of God, we go, Allah. So natural, isn't it? We talk about Islam being a natural religion. And in fact, every time we breathe out, every time we exhale, we're reminding ourselves that our heart believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His creation and His care for us. This is what we need to carry forward in the world. And share it with others. We are not here to win arguments. Has anyone ever been convinced by logic or force of argument that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists, created and loves his creation? I don't know of anyone. But when people see the heart of a believer exposed through their actions, they say there is something there more powerful than what I am seeing. They feel it. And this triggers the intuition when they say, I believe, I testify that Allah is there and that He is one. It's the most beautiful moment, and it's one that we must share with everyone that we meet. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ala Fatimah Zahra wa ala Ali ibn Abu Talib wa ala Hassan ibn Ali wa ala Hussein ibn Ali wa Ali ibn al-Hussein wa Muhammad ibn Ali wa Jafar ibn Muhammad wa Musa ibn Jafar wa Ali ibn Musa wa Muhammad ibn Ali wa Ali ibn Muhammad wa Hassan ibn Ali wa Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Muntaza, whom we await to restore peace, order and the correct way of living to our brothers and sisters around the world who live under oppression and suffer at the hands of ignorance. Too many to name. O Allah, look with kindness upon those who suffer in secret and those who suffer in public, wherever they suffer, and return Imam Al-Mahdi to us, that he may be your true servant and guide those who follow him. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. كذلك الهدى كذلك الهدى الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي والمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده وبارك صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده وبارك صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده وبارك صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يكون ويعقل. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.